Part 123. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1221. Chapter 1221 Nangang Luo, don't get close to my daughter. Nangang Luo finally knew what it meant to shoot oneself in the foot. How does he explain his cooperative relationship with Zhonyun to a 3-year-old child? He could only say, I am not someone else's daddy. Uncle just wants to be yours daddy. Why? Because I like your mommy. Nangang Luo confessed his love to the woman he loved in one sentence in front of a 3-year-old child. Xiao Yuer suddenly covered his mouth and smiled. Her smile is very beautiful, with the innocence of a child, and the same aura as her mother. Nangang Luo touched his head and asked belatedly, why do I feel that I have been deceived by you? Xiao Yuer laughed for no reason. Yuer didn't. Then what are you laughing at? Xiao Yuer shook her head and said mysteriously, I won't tell you. Forget it if you don't tell me, uncle has already made up his mind anyway, no one can stop him from pursuing Gongqinli this time. Abduct the little one first, then pick up the big one. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Xiao Yuer was safely sent back to Gongqinli's apartment. Gongqinli happily opened the door to pick up her child. Her bright smile froze the moment she saw Nangang Luo. Who can tell her why her daughter lay so obediently in Nangang Luo's arms? Nangang Luo, you. Shh, keep your voice down, Yuer is asleep. Before Gongqinli made any statement, Nangang Luo blocked her away with one sentence. Hearing about the loss of his daughter, Gongqinli immediately became quiet. Give it to me. She reached out and wanted to take her daughter back, but Nangang Luo refused to let her go. Where is her room? I just carried her up so as not to wake up. Gongqinli had no reason to refuse even though she wanted to enter her home so straightforwardly. She took a deep breath and whispered, I'll take you there. Tell yourself that everything is for your daughter. Xiao Yuer is only 3 years old. Although she has prepared her own room, she still sleeps with Gongqinli at night. Gongqinli wanted to lead him in, so he naturally went into the bedroom where he usually rested. Gongqinli is a person who likes novel things but has certain old-fashioned feelings for certain items. Just like her bedroom, no matter where she lives, the bedroom is decorated in the same style and the things placed are very similar. Nangang Luo is actually very familiar with her room. Carefully put Xiao Yuer on the bed, the two of them communicated with each other with their eyes and gestures, and then walked out of the room gently. When they reached a safe area where Xiao Yuer would not be disturbed, Gongqinli's face immediately changed. Questions were raised one after another. Why did you send Yuer back? They said they were going to the amusement park today. Did you go too? What you up to? Listening to the continuous questioning, Nangang Luo couldn't laugh or cry. Originally, I thought it would be a bit awkward for the two of them to meet again, but the management was still so rude to him. Lu Li, you ask so many questions at once, which one do you want me to answer first? All, answer one by one. Alas, Nangang Luo sighed deliberately and waved his hand. No, no, you said so much that I have forgotten it. Gongqinli. Ghost believes that the 3 simple issues can't remember such a simple problem. It is clearly intentionally rectified her. Forget it, I will naturally ask Yejio for the reason. As for you, Nangang Luo, I clearly warn you, don't get close to my daughter in the future. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1222. Chapter 1222 Li Yulai, are you feeling guilty? You are so excited, as if you are trying to hide something. Nangang Luo took a step toward her, and Gongqinli took a step back. Lu Li, is your reaction too extreme? Nangang Luo moved forward every time he asked a question. Dong, Gongqinli leaned her back against the wall, unable to retreat. Bang! Nangang Luo suddenly stretched out a hand and pressed it against the wall, making a bang. Lu Li, are you feeling guilty? Gong Qinli suddenly opened her eyes wide, and took advantage of him to slap him in the face, as if the whole world had gone silent. Nangong Luo touched his cheek, as if he could still feel the warmth of her palm. The slap makes a sound, but it doesn't actually hurt. Gong Qinli hurriedly glanced away, silently convincing herself to be calm. Squinting her eyes, when she opened them again, she already had a plan to deal with Nangong Luo. Nangong Luo, I warn you not to get close to my daughter, and you'd better stay away from me. What's the reason? Gong Qinli sneered, don't you know the reason? Your wife Zhong Yun brought your daughter Nangong Yu to my house to talk to me. This makes me very distressed. Hearing this, Nangong Luo immediately put away his amused expression and frowned, looking very serious. Zhong Yun came to see you. Yes, she came to me and asked me to stay away from you. But I think she misunderstood, because I have never deliberately approached you. I will solve her problem. Nangong Luo answered so decisively and simply, which sounded a little weird. But Gong Qinli has no intention of exploring these now. She would rather the truth be hidden forever than get involved in other people's marriages. So she told Nangong Luo seriously, I don't care what problems you have between your husband and wife, but remember, don't mess with me, let alone affect my daughter. She was too lazy to argue with a 3-year-old child, otherwise she would have complained to Nangong Yu in front of Nangong Luo. He was so rude and scared her Yu. But after thinking about it, let it go. As an adult, she wouldn't care about a 3-year-old child's words. Nangong Luo, let's go. Gong Qinli once again issued an eviction order, and the atmosphere between the two became cold again. Nangong Luo raised his eyes and stared at her, and said very seriously, Lu Li, give me some time, and I will explain it to you slowly after I take care of everything. Gong Qinli shook her head, you don't need to explain anything to me. I'm not interested in other people's feelings. I just want my daughter to live a happy life and not let anyone gossip about her. The last sentence has a profound meaning. She didn't want to get entangled with Nangong Luo anymore, and she didn't even have much contact with the opposite over the years because she didn't want her daughter to be affected in the slightest. Nangong Luo understood what Gong Qinli meant. Except for being confused about emotional matters, they actually have a tacit understanding about everything else. He will not approach Gong Qinli blatantly yet, he must deal with Zhong Yun's matter. And we must pay special attention to a few points. First, he and Zhong Yun must cut off the mess quickly. Second, he and Zhong Yun cannot directly announce their divorce to the outside world, but must publicly explain the cooperative relationship between him and Zhong Yun, otherwise when he contacts the palace when Qinli and Xiao Yu were together, it was easy for others to misunderstand. Nangong Luo sighed deeply and said slowly, Lu Li, don't be angry. I had a lot of fun taking Xiao Yu to the amusement park today. I took her to eat before coming back so that she won't be hungry. Wait until she wakes up on her own. Bar. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1223. Chapter 1223. Don't take advantage of me. Nangong Luo talked a lot about what happened with Xiao Yu today, and finally told her to take good care of Xiao Yu. Gong Qinli looked confused after hearing this. If you care so much, it makes you feel like you are Yu's parent. I am very happy to serve as Xiao Yu's father. Nangong Luo said this shamelessly. Gong Qinli pushed him out of the house angrily, don't try to take advantage of me, get out. After pushing Nangong Luo out, Gong Qinli closed the door without hesitation, and there was a loud bang. Even though he was kicked out, Nangong Luo didn't feel embarrassed at all. He stared at the door, as if he could see Gong Qinli stamping her feet in annoyance through the door. He chuckled lightly, and the sullen feeling in his heart seemed to be lifted all of a sudden. However, recalling the warnings Gong Qinli gave him, Nangong Luo had to re-examine Zhong Yun's purpose. She is no longer the woman who was only dedicated to love. Nangong Luo made a rare trip back to Nangong's house. Mrs. Nangong was very happy and ordered someone to cook a large table of food. Mrs. Nangong specifically asked Zhong Yun to go home early. Zhong Yun deliberately made excuses to stay outside after learning that Nangong Luo was at home. Mrs. Nangong was entrusted by Mother Zhong, and now she realized that something was wrong between Nangong Luo and Zhong Yun. Upon investigation, she found out that Nangong Luo had taken Gong Qinli's daughter to the amusement park for a day. Mrs. Nangong immediately destroyed the news after receiving this result. Oh, what a sin! Mrs. Nangong really didn't expect that after 4 years, Gong Qinli's influence on Nangong Luo would still be so great. You must know that Nangong Luo has never taken his daughter Nangong Yu to an amusement park. Now that Gong Qinli has returned to China with her daughter, Nangong Luo has been approaching the mother and daughter anxiously. Mrs. Nangong really couldn't understand that her son was too infatuated. In the past, I liked the Ye brothers and sisters because I had a good personal relationship with Yezikan and Ye Yowei, and the reason was reasonable. But now he is so doting on the daughter Gong Qinli gave birth to with someone else. Is this child really clueless and blinded by love? No, we can't let him continue to make such mistakes. Mrs. Nangong thought about it and decided to find someone. On the second rest day of the weekend, Mrs. Nangong made an appointment with Gong Qinli. Gong Qinli would naturally not refuse the invitation from the elders. After all, the friendship between the Gong family and the Nangong family still existed. It happened that Gong Qinli was shopping with her daughter at that time, and when Mrs. Nangong said she wanted to see her, she had no choice but to take her daughter with her. Xiao Yuer has a good memory. When she saw Mrs. Nangong, she knew how to greet Mrs. Nangong politely, "Hello, Grandma Nangong." Hearing the soft voice, Mrs. Nangong suddenly wanted her to delete the first 2 words. "Auntie, how about lunch?" Gong Qinli's voice brought Mrs. Nangong back to her senses. "Okay, everything is fine." Gong Qinli carried Xiao Yuer to the chair, and Xiao Yuer sat there quietly. "Just order whatever you like, I'm here to treat you today." "Then how can I let the elders treat me? I feel guilty that I didn't have time to pay a special visit after Li Yulai came back. I'm going to treat you today, so don't refuse, Aunt." "You kid has always been very sharp-tongued, but I can't speak to you." When the menu came up, Gong Qinli asked Mrs. Nangong to choose first. Mrs. Nangong took the child into consideration and asked, "What does Yuer like to eat?" After getting her mother's consent, Xiao Yuer named some of her favorite dishes. Mrs. Nangong sounds familiar. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1224. Chapter 1224 Mrs. Nangong's suspicion. Xiao Yuer couldn't name the dishes that were too complicated, but the names of the foods she named were very clear. Mrs. Nangong felt something sounded familiar. She was surprised when the food was served. Aren't these similar to Nangong Luo's hobbies? Some people are picky eaters, and some people think that any food is acceptable, but even people who are not picky eaters always have some foods that they particularly like. The one Xiao Yuer ordered was similar to Nangong Luo's preference. Gong Qinli had been carefully paying attention to Mrs. Nangong's expression. Seeing her staring at the food, Gong Qinli picked up the tea and took a sip. "Auntie asked me out for something today. I've heard a lot about what happened after you came back. I've wanted to see you before but couldn't find a suitable opportunity. Today is a coincidence." Mrs. Nangong didn't expect that Gong Qinli would bring the child, so there were some things she couldn't say. "Mommy, I want to drink some water. There is only tea from the restaurant on the table." Appropriate amount of light tea is good for children's health, but Gong Kin Li usually doesn't let little Yor drink tea outside. Wait a minute, mommy, go and ask if there is warm water for you to drink, okay? Uh-huh. When Gong Kin Li stood up, she suddenly heard Xiao Yor asking Mrs. Nangong, does Grandma Nangong need it? Xiao Yor's question made the two adults stunned for a moment. Gong Kin Li didn't expect that it was because the adults had no scruples about tea, so she didn't ask specifically. Mrs. Nangong was surprised by this. The child she usually interacts with is Nangong Yu. Nangong Yu has always been self-centered and never knows how to care about other people's feelings when speaking or doing things. She really didn't expect that Xiao Yor would even think of greeting her, especially when he drank water. The difference between Xiao Yor and Nangong Yu is so big. No, no need, thank you Xiao Yor. I'm really sorry, I didn't even think of this. Gong Kin Li first apologized to Mrs. Nangong, and then encouraged Xiao Yor, thank you for the reminder, honey. It doesn't have to be so complicated, but as a parent, she must set an example in front of her children. Mrs. Nangong seems to understand a little better. The behavior of children is often directly proportional to the education of adults. Xiao Yor is well educated at first glance. After Gong Kin Li left her seat, Xiao Yor remained obedient, chewing the rice in the bowl slowly. Mrs. Nangong tried to talk to her, Yor, do you think these dishes are delicious? That's great, Xiao Yor praised without hesitation, and at the same time, her little gesture of extending her thumb was natural and cute. Mrs. Nangong smiled. Yor, as long as you like it, is there anything you particularly like to eat, or is there anything you can't eat? I don't know, she shook her head. She is not picky about food, she thinks anything is fine, but what if it is something she cannot eat? She only has fruits that she can't eat, but there seems to be no vegetables that she can't eat. It's okay, just eat more if you like. Children need to grow up. Thank you, Grandma Nangong. The four words sound awkward. It's better for you or to just call her Grandma, it sounds more friendly. Okay, Grandma. Xiao Yor happily changed her voice and shouted, her voice sweet and soft. I don't know if it's because of the different personalities of the children, but Mrs. Nangong felt that Xiao Yor's shouting of Grandma was different from Nangong Yu's shouting. She even had a selfish thought, it would be great if Yor was a child of their Nangong family, and she would be loved by the elders. Yor, have you always lived abroad with your mother? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1225. Chapter 1225. Many handsome uncles are chasing your mommy. Yor, have you always lived abroad with your mother? Yes. Your mommy is very good. Are there many handsome uncles pursuing her? Mrs. Nangong seemed to ask casually, but she was deliberately cliched. Of course, Xiao Yor didn't understand what Mrs. Nangong was thinking. She just said what she knew and could say, not much. That's it? Yep. Then Yor, do you still remember who it is? At once. Yor, we've received the boiling water. Just when Xiao Yor was about to answer Mrs. Nangong's question without any thought, Gong Kin Li appeared in time to interrupt them. Thank you, Mommy. Xiao Yor thanked her and slowly drank half a glass of water. Mrs. Nangong temporarily put away the questions in her mind. She originally wanted to ask Gong Kin Li what she thought of Nangong Luo today, but she had no choice but to give up as Xiao Yor was by her side. Mrs. Nangong's relationship with Gong Kin Li was originally close, but they were a little estranged after 4 years, but they both had great importance in each other's hearts. Gong Kin Li was originally prepared for Mrs. Nangong to cause trouble for her, but the atmosphere turned out to be harmonious. Halfway through the meal, someone from the Nangong family suddenly called. After Mrs. Nangong answered the phone, she only said a few words, but Gong Kin Li heard words related to Mr. Nangong. Mrs. Nangong frowned and said to the phone, I'll be back soon. The words were urgent, and it was clear from Mrs. Nangong's expression that something bad had happened. It was about Mr. Nangong, so Gong Kinli couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong with Grandpa?" The doctor in charge of the old man said that the old man has not been in good condition recently. "I will go back and have a look." "I'm sorry, Li Yulai, I'll invite you next time. I have to leave first today." As a daughter-in-law, Mrs. Nangong still respects Mr. Nangong very much and has always been very concerned about the old man's physical condition. The relationship between Nangong Luo and Zhonyun is naturally more important than their lives. But Gong Kinli couldn't calm down after hearing this, and finally chased Mrs. Nangong out of the restaurant door. "Auntie, let me go with you." "You?" "Yeah, I haven't seen Grandpa for a long time." Finally, Mrs. Nangong rushed back with Gong Kinli, mother and daughter. "Mr. Nangong fell ill 4 years ago. It was very dangerous at that time, but I don't know if it is God's blessing. He is still living well. However, his body is relatively weak and he has been taking medicine for a long time. Basically, he can only be treated specially for him. Arranged activities around quiet accommodation." On the way there, Mrs. Nangong told Gong Kinli something about Mr. Nangong's situation in recent years. Gong Kinli sighed after hearing this. "Grandpa is a good man, God will take care of him." That's all. When they arrived at the house where Mr. Nangong was recuperating, and after asking the doctor about his condition, Mrs. Nangong led Gong Kinli and her daughter in together. Mr. Nangong was lying quietly on the bed. He couldn't see his body because he was covered with quilt, but his face that was exposed was very thin. "Dad, are you feeling okay today?" Mrs. Nangong's tone sounded like a simple greeting. The people on the bed were silent. Just when Gong Kinli thought that Mr. Nangong would not answer, the old man slowly opened his eyes and answered with 2 words in a hoarse voice, "It's okay. Look, who I brought to see you today." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1226. Chapter 1226, Bringing Xiao Yuer to meet Grandpa Nangong. The old man's eyesight is dazzled and his vision of people is a bit blurry. Coupled with the difference in Gong Kinli's style now and 4 years ago, the old man really can't recognize her. Perhaps there was a child next to her, and the old man guessed, "Is it Zhonyun and Yuer?" Hearing this, Mrs. Nangong was a little embarrassed. Gong Kinli also felt a little disappointed in her heart, but she didn't think much about it. After all, she had been away for 4 years. "Grandpa, I am Li Yulai." Gong Kinli approached the bed so that the old man could see her appearance more clearly. "Grandpa, can you still catch me? I am Li Yulai, and I am back." Li Yulai." The old man stretched out his hand to sit up. Mrs. Nangong quickly raised the bed so that the old man could sit. "On the way here, I heard Mrs. Nangong say that the old man couldn't see people clearly, and sometimes his memory was confused. However, she didn't expect that she just said her name and the old man recognized her. Li. Even though her voice was mute, Gong Kinli could still feel the old man's care for her younger generation. She used to respect the old man as her own grandfather. At first, she was ruthless in reducing her contacts with the Nangong family, but now she really regrets it. "Grandpa, I'm sorry, Li Yulai just came to visit you now." "Good boy, you are finally back." The old man stretched out his hand tremblingly. The arm was as skinny as wood. She held the old man's trembling hand, and suddenly felt a pain in her heart. Xiao Yuer stood next to Gong Kinli. At such a young age, she couldn't understand what the scene meant, but she knew that her mother was very sad at the moment. Xiao Yuer tugged on the corner of Gong Kinli's clothes and comforted her softly, "Mommy, don't be sad. Gong Li turned around to comfort her daughter. Mommy is not sad, mommy is very happy because she saw grandpa again today. Well, if mommy is happy, you will be happy. Hearing the simple conversation between mother and daughter, Mrs. Nangong's heart really felt ripples one after another. I have to sigh, Gong Li's daughter is so well educated, she is such a wonderful person. The conversation between mother and daughter caught the attention of Mr. Nangong. The old man looked at the child and asked, "Is it you or you?" And you have the same pinyin but different tones. Xiao Yuer didn't know if the old man was calling her, so when she was confused, she subconsciously asked her mother for help. Gong Li didn't know how to explain it for a moment. She hesitated for a short while and found that the old man seemed very happy when he looked at Xiao Yuer. Mrs. Nangong knew that the old man was looking forward to his granddaughter, so she whispered a few words in Gong Li's ear, which probably meant that she hoped she could cooperate with the old man and make him happy. Gong Li had absolutely no reason to refuse. She pushed her daughter forward a little and taught Xiao Yuer to call her grandpa. Since it was Gong Li who spoke, Xiao Yuer obediently called out, "Grandpa." Hey. Mr. Nangong felt that he had not heard such a comfortable address for a long time. He wanted to get close to his granddaughter, but he thought that in the past, his granddaughter seemed to dislike the smell of medicine on his body. The old man retracted his outstretched hand. He just looked at Xiao Yuer kindly and sighed, "Yuer seems to have grown taller again." Now Xiao Yuer could hear the pronunciation of the word clearly. She thought the old man had mispronounced it and corrected it, "Grandpa, my name is Yuer." Yuer. Mr. Nangong only felt that he was old and confused, and he couldn't even remember his granddaughter's name. Gong Li also explained, "Grandpa, this is my daughter, her name is Yuer." Next chapter preview. The old man was silent for a while, then suddenly laughed. "Li Yulai girl and Luo Er's daughter are so old, good, really good." End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1227. Chapter 1227. Xiao Yuer is simply an angel. The old man was silent for a while after listening to Gong Li's words. Looking at Xiao Yuer's appearance, he suddenly laughed. "Lu Li girl and Luo Er's daughter are already so old. Okay, that's great." Mr. Nangong's words shocked Gong Li and made Mrs. Nangong confused. Xiao Yuer is even more confused. Gong Li's heart beat faster when she felt guilty. "Grandpa, you misunderstood, Yuer doesn't." Just when Gong Li wanted to deny it in front of everyone, Mrs. Nangong pulled her hand and stopped her from continuing. "Lu Li, let Grandpa be happy for a while." Mrs. Nangong hopes that she can follow the old man's wishes and try her best to cooperate no matter what the old man says. She remembered that Mrs. Nangong had said before that the old man sometimes had confused memory and would recognize the wrong person. She didn't expect it to be so strange. When he first came here, Mr. Nangong's thinking was that his grandson-in-law was still Zhong Yun, but he didn't expect that she would be related to Nangong Luo right now. Not only that, Mr. Nangong also talked about the past. "I made a bet with you. If you lose, you will become the granddaughter-in-law of my Nangong family. You deliberately lost to me. Now I think about it as if it happened yesterday. In the blink of an eye, you guys the children are so old." Mr. Nangong talked a lot. When Mrs. Nangong cast her doubtful eyes, Gong Li really wanted to find a hole in the ground and burrow down. She had no idea that the old man would mention this matter at this moment, so she shouldn't be too embarrassed. That didn't betray her thoughts. "Ahem, Grandpa, are you thirsty? Do you want some water?" She deliberately changed the topic and betrayed her well-behaved little daughter at a critical moment. "Yuer, please talk to Grandpa for a while." Gong Li pulled her daughter to the bedside. Xiao Yuer nodded, very obedient. When Gong Li excused herself to pour water, Xiao Yuer began to carry out the task assigned to her by her mother, to talk to her grandpa for a while. "Grandpa, are you sick?" "Yeah, I'm sick." "When you are sick, you should be obedient and see the doctor. The doctor will give you injections and medicine, and you will be fine after taking the medicine." Xiao Yu earnestly conveyed her surprise when she was sick to the old man. Listening to these caring children's words, the old man felt warm in his heart. "My great-grandfather will work hard to treat her. My great-grandfather also wants to see you grow up healthy and happy, and become a tall and graceful girl. Then grandpa, if you work hard to cure the disease, you will also grow up. You is so good." The old man wanted to touch his great-granddaughter several times, but in his confused memory, he still remembered the way Nangang looked when she disliked him, so he retracted his hand every time. Xiao Yu is good at observation, but she is simple-minded and doesn't know what the old man's inner thoughts are. She just looked at the old man's hands, which were so bony and full of veins. She grabbed the old man's hand outside with her own hands and said, "Grandpa, Mommy said you shouldn't keep your hands outside while sleeping, as you may get sick easily." Mr. Nangang was simply flattered to receive the concern from his great-granddaughter. Mrs. Nangang was almost moved to tears by the heartwarming scene in front of her. "I asked Mr. Renangang to bring Nangang here when he missed his great-granddaughter. Nangang always said things like 'Grandpa stinks' and 'I don't want to stay in this room,' which hurt the old man's heart. Later on, she didn't dare to bring Nangang here again. Now that she met Xiao Yu, she also had plans in mind. Monthly fan ranking number 118805 Ad Book Club 1450160019 to privately stamp Chinese Valentine's Day to receive prizes. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1228. Chapter 1228 Who is Sun's wife? "Lu Li, my aunt is begging you this time, please help me." Mrs. Nangong's voice came from the corridor. "She is asking Gong Qinli for something very important." Gong Qinli remained silent. Until Mrs. Nangang took out a stack of report paper and said, "The old man's time is running out. Every examination report the doctor gives is that the old man's life is drained bit by bit. Please help and let the old man leave without regrets." Gong Qinli took a deep breath and finally nodded in agreement. They stayed here until the afternoon. On the way back, Gong Qinli asked some questions. "Did you like the place just now?" Xiao Yu shook her head. "I don't like it." "Why?" "Because there is a sick great-grandfather there. Grandpa is very kind to you, he just gave you a small gift." "Yes, Yu likes her great-grandpa, so she doesn't want to see her great-grandpa get sick." Now Gong Qinli understands. When Xiao Yu said she didn't like that place, she meant she didn't like seeing the sick old man Nangang there. She hoped that everyone who was kind to her would be healthy. Gong Qinli told her, "Grandpa doesn't want to get sick, but he is old and needs more rest. The great-grandpa is in the room every day and can't play with anything." Xiao Yu suddenly felt that the great-grandpa was very pitiful. "Yes, my great-grandfather is very lonely. Will Xiao Yu be willing to talk to his great-grandfather when he is free?" Well, Xiao Yu was confused. It doesn't matter if Yu doesn't want to, she will naturally respect her daughter's choice. Xiao Yu did not express her position directly, but asked, "If Yu goes to talk to Grandpa, will Grandpa's illness be cured?" "This is not necessarily true, but my great-grandfather will definitely be very happy to see you." "Mommy, I would like to go and talk to my great-grandpa." "Baby, you're so good." Gong Qinli lowered her head and kissed her gently on the forehead. Since Xiao Yu went to kindergarten during the day, Gong Qinli would take Xiao Yu over to talk to the old man after get off work. She stayed there for an hour or two at a time and made the old man laugh. Mrs. Nangang secretly watched it twice, and she felt more and more that Gong Qinyu's character was commendable. Mrs. Nangang has put the Zhonyun incident behind her, and she has been in a good mood these past few days. When Zhonyun asked about the reason, Mrs. Nangang said directly, the old man's condition has improved recently, so I am naturally happy. Zhonyun then remembered that there was an old man in the Nangong family who had been lying in bed for a long time. In order to strive for performance, Zhonyun said, "Speaking of which, I haven't visited Grandpa for a long time, otherwise I will take you to visit with you next time. You have the intention, but you won't use it for the time being. It's appropriate to visit your elders. I'll take you there tomorrow." Zhonyun wanted to strike while the iron was hot. In the end, Nangongyu ignored it and directly tried to make trouble. "I won't go." Don't talk nonsense. If I don't go, I won't go." Zhonyun deliberately acted like it was her birthday. "If you keep doing this, mommy will be angry." Nangongyu turned his head away unscrupulously. "I won't go if I'm angry." Nangongyu has always been like this, everyone knows it. Zhonyun remembered that others had repeatedly reminded her to discipline her children, so she tried to reason with Nangongyu in front of Mrs. Nangong. "Grandpa is sick. You should visit him and respect your elders." "Okay, none of you are going, just let the old man rest and rest." Zhonyun knew that the situation was not good, so he went alone. The next chapter suppresses Zhonyun, so you can feel refreshed. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1229. Chapter 1229. The old man angrily accused Zhonyun of lying. Zhonyun is now trying every means to win over the Nangong family. She is fully prepared to visit Mr. Nangong this time. But Zhonyun never imagined that she would meet Gongqin Li's daughter Gongqin Yu. Xiao Yu sat by the bed and told Mr. Nangong stories in a childish voice. Xiao Yu is 3 years old and doesn't know all the Chinese characters. She only hears her stories from the teacher during class, but she also has to read to the old man carefully from a book. When she encounters a word she doesn't know, Mr. Nangong will put on his presbyopia to teach his granddaughter. "Grandpa, what do you pronounce this character?" "Ah, let me take a look." Mr. Nangong pushed up his reading glasses, carefully looked at the small square characters on the book, and explained to Xiao Yu, "Tong means eyes." "Yeah, Yu remembers it." Xiao Yu's learning ability is very fast. She will remember things she has seen once. If she recognizes the words one more time, she will basically remember them all. The stories that Xiao Yu can tell are nothing more than fables that children like. They are actually very childish to the elders, but Mr. Nangong likes and enjoys them very much, because this is his great-granddaughter's filial piety to him, even if it is repeated every day. He also found the storytelling very novel. The old man and the young man get along very harmoniously. Zhonyun came with a gift and originally prepared a set of words to deal with the old man, but she didn't expect to hear the sound of children reading when she opened the door and walked in. Zhonyun took a closer look and picked it up in one breath. Who can tell her why Gongqin Yu is here and still calls Mr. Nangong grandpa? Zhonyun clenched her fists, turned around and wanted to leave, but she never thought that the clever Xiao Yu had discovered her. "Aunt Zhon, are you here to visit my great-grandfather too?" Zhonyun, whose name was called, had to stop and step into the door. "Grandpa, I'm here to see you." Zhonyun put the gift she brought on the table to show her goodwill to the old man. The old man originally had presbyopia, but now he stared at Zhonyun for a few times and felt a little familiar. "Who are you?" Originally, the old man was sometimes delirious, so Zhonyun was not surprised that he could not recognize himself. Zhonyun smiled and briefly introduced herself. "Grandpa, I am Zhonyun, your granddaughter-in-law, Luo's chess piece." With this simple sentence, she clearly explained her relationship with the Nangong family. Zhonyun glanced at Xiao Yu. She didn't know if children could understand it, but she had to declare her identity. Mr. Nangong nodded after hearing this. My grandson's wife, Luo's chess piece. The old man muttered a few sentences to himself. Just when Zhou Yun thought that the old man was going to remember him, the old man suddenly changed his expression. Which family are you from? Dare you lie in front of me? My grandson's wife, Luo only has one wife, and that is Gongqin Li. Mr. Nangong already regards Gongqin Li as his granddaughter-in-law in his heart, and there is no concept of Zhou Yun in his mind. As soon as Zhou Yun heard this, even the fake smile froze on her face. From the time she entered Nangong's house, she knew that the old man's favorite grandson-in-law was Gongqin Li, but she didn't expect that there was still no change after several years. This old man actually denied her identity to her face. Grandpa, you are out of your mind. Nangong Luo's wife is me, Zhou Yun, not Gongqin Li. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1230. Chapter 1230. My granddaughter-in-law is only Gongqin Li. Grandpa, you are out of your mind. Nangong Luo's wife is me, Zhou Yun, not Gongqin Li. Humph. Don't think that any woman can enter my Nangong house. I advise you to give up your thoughts and get out of here as soon as possible. Otherwise, I will ask people to kick you out to see if you still want to be shameless. Ginger is still old, and the ironic people are all sharp, not rough. Zhou Yun loves face, and she can't stand it now. Grandpa, I respect you as Luo's grandfather, so I came to visit you kindly. I didn't expect you to be like this. Ask the Nangong family or even other people, who doesn't know that I, Zhou Yun, am Nangong Luo's wife. And we still have you have a 3-year-old daughter, your great-granddaughter is Yuer. Yuer. Mr. Nangong felt more and more headache as he listened. Xiao Yuer couldn't quite understand the adult's quarrel, but she heard her mother's name. Xiao Yuer frowned and looked like an adult, deep in thought. She raised her head and glanced at Zhou Yun, and suddenly felt that the aunt's eyes were so scary, as if the old witch wanted to her away and eat her. Xiao Yuer tugged on the quilt at Mr. Nangong's hand. Grandpa, don't be angry. It's not good for your health. Yuer is afraid. How could the old man who loved his juniors be willing to let such a cute little guy suffer even the slightest injustice? At that time, he scolded Zhou Yun and told her to leave immediately. Old man, you are really sick and confused. Even if you don't know me, have you even forgotten who your own granddaughter is? My great-granddaughter is called Yuer. Zhou Yun must correct her. You are wrong. Your great-granddaughter's name is Yuer, Nangong Yu. Mr. Nangong just looked back at Xiao Yuer and firmly protected the child. He stopped talking nonsense to Zhou Yun and pressed the bedside bell to summon the security guard. While the security guards were arriving, Mr. Nangong gave Zhou Yun a lesson rudely. It doesn't matter whose family you belong to, you have to remember that Gongqin Li is the only granddaughter-in-law of the Nangong family from beginning to end. My great-granddaughter is Yuer, no one can fool me. Although Mr. Nangong is ill, he was once a capable man who dominated the shopping mall, and even now he speaks with the dignity of a high-ranking person. Zhou Yun suddenly grabbed Xiao Yuer's hand and tried to take her away. You child doesn't learn well at a young age. This must be your mother's conspiracy. You can't say bad things about my mommy. I'm telling the truth, you come with me. Zhou Yun wanted to take away Xiao Yuer, the outsider, but before she could finish her words, the security guards had already barged in. The security here is specially arranged and is only responsible for protecting the old man's comfort and acting according to the old man's instructions. Now that the old man wants to let Zhou Yun go, even if they know Zhou Yun's identity, they will never show mercy to Zhou Yun. Grandpa, you made a mistake. I am Zhou Yun, and Zhou Yun is your granddaughter-in-law. Zhou Yun refused to listen, so Mr. Nangong waved his hand and prepared to be dragged out. Now the room regained its tranquility. The old man was so angry that he was still a little angry after driving the people out. Humph, These women are really evil. Don't be afraid, Grandpa will never let these people disturb you again. I heard you say my mommy's name. Don't worry, as long as my great-grandfather is still alive, no one will be allowed to bully you and your mommy. Grandpa is so kind, thank you so much. Go and help Grandpa get the cell phone and call your grandma. End of this chapter.